The awakening, that moment you notice you're different. It hits quietly at first. A thought, a feeling, a question that others don't seem to have. You realize your perspective doesn't match the room. Your reactions, your desires, your values, they are not like most people. It can feel isolating. You look around and wonder why everyone seems to follow a script. Why most people accept things without questioning. Why the default path feels comfortable to them but hollow to you. You notice small things first. The way conversations feel shallow. The way traditions feel like invisible chains. The way the crowd moves in rhythm you can't sync with. And suddenly you see yourself differently. You are awake to your own mind. You see the world in a way others can't or won't. It's not a choice you made. It just happened. It is both unsettling and liberating. Unsettling because you feel alone. Liberating because you finally understand yourself. You understand your differences, your depth, your curiosity, your restlessness. The pain is subtle at first. A quiet loneliness. A sense that you are an outsider in your own life. You begin to question everything. Why do people chase approval? Why do they settle? Why do they stop questioning? This is the awakening. The moment you see clearly that life is different for you. You are no longer just a participant. You are an observer, a thinker, a seeker, and with observation comes responsibility. Responsibility to live intentionally. Responsibility to honor your perspective. Responsibility to not conform just for comfort. It is the first step in a journey that will challenge you. It is the first step in a journey that will transform you. It is the moment where confusion meets clarity. You are different, not better, not worse, just different. And realizing it is the doorway to freedom. The loneliness of awareness. Why feeling different hurts. Awareness comes with a price. The price is loneliness. The world feels crowded, yet you feel invisible. You want connection, but most people cannot meet you where you are. You try to explain your thoughts. They nod, but they do not understand. You share your feelings. They smile politely, but they do not feel the depth you feel. You watch the crowd follow routines, social scripts, expectations, comfort over curiosity, and you realize you do not fit. You are on a different wavelength. The pain is real, a subtle ache that grows over time. The pang of wanting belonging while needing authenticity. The tension between isolation and the desire to be understood. You may start to question yourself. Is there something wrong with me? Am I too sensitive? Too intense? Too unconventional? But that is the lie the loneliness tells you. The truth is different. Being different is not a defect. It is a sign of depth, of perception, of awareness. It is the indicator that your mind and heart are awake. And yet, the loneliness sharpens your senses. You learn to value meaningful connection over shallow approval. You learn that quality matters more than quantity. You begin to seek resonance rather than conformity. Pain is part of the process. It is a teacher. It forces you inward. It forces reflection. Loneliness becomes a lens. It shows you what matters and what is not. It highlights superficiality and exposes emptiness. It prepares you to recognize those who truly resonate. This is the turning point. The moment when isolation is no longer only suffering. It becomes the soil for growth, for self-understanding, and for authentic connection. The gift of perspective, seeing what others Mississippi. Being different gives you vision. You notice patterns that others ignore. You see the repetition in human behavior. You see what is unspoken, unseen, and overlooked. This perspective is both a burden and a gift. Burden, because the clarity can feel isolating. Gift, because it gives you understanding few possess. You notice societal blind spots, the unquestioned norms, the habits followed without thought, the assumptions that drive decisions. You see the gaps between what is preached and what is lived. You see opportunities where others see obstacles. You see risks where others are blind. You see truth where others accept illusion. Real examples show this clearly. Inventors who saw what others overlooked. Artists who felt emotions that others dismissed. Leaders who noticed inefficiencies that everyone else accepted. Perspective sharpens the mind. It forces questions. It drives curiosity. It sparks innovation. Yet, it requires patience. The world moves at a slower awareness. Others may misunderstand or resist your clarity. They may dismiss your insights as overthinking, but your perspective is rare. It is the key to discernment. It is the lens through which you navigate life with intelligence and subtlety. Perspective is transformative. It allows you to act where others hesitate. It allows you to create where others follow. It allows you to see the unseen and understand the deeper currents of life. Your gift is in noticing, in observing, in holding a mirror to the world that reflects what most people fail to see. It is a quiet power, but a profound one. Emotional depth as a superpower. Being different often comes with feeling more. You feel joy more intensely. You feel sadness more deeply. You sense subtleties that others overlook. At first, it can feel like a burden. Emotions overwhelm. You are exhausted by the intensity of your inner world. You wonder why it's so hard to keep up with those who seem indifferent. But emotional depth is not a weakness. It is a lens, a tool, a source of insight. It allows you to understand yourself. It allows you to understand others. It allows you to see layers beneath the surface. Real-life examples make this clear. Writers who channel pain into words that resonate. Artists who turn sensitivity into vision. Leaders who translate empathy into meaningful connection. Depth allows for discernment. You can read situations more clearly. You can detect subtle signals, intentions, and unspoken truths. You can respond with wisdom instead of reaction. Emotional depth connects to creativity. It fuels problem solving. It sparks intuition. It guides decisions that logic alone cannot. The key is mastery. Recognize the intensity. Accept it. Harness it. Use it as a superpower rather than a burden. Emotional depth is the bridge between awareness and action, between insight and connection, between being different and making a meaningful impact, breaking free from the scripts, designing your own path. Once you recognize your differences, you begin to question the scripts. The path others follow no longer feels right. The default expectations, the societal pressures, the milestones everyone accepts, they feel hollow. You start asking questions. Why am I following this? What do I actually want? What aligns with my values and vision? This is where freedom begins. Not the freedom to do anything, but the freedom to choose consciously, to decide which norms to accept and which to reject. Real examples illustrate this. Entrepreneurs who left stable careers to pursue ideas. Artists who abandoned conventional paths to create work that resonates. Thinkers who rejected tradition to explore truth in unconventional ways. The process is uncomfortable. You face fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of being misunderstood. But discomfort is a signal, not a barrier. It marks the edge of growth. It signals that you are stepping into authenticity. Designing your own path requires deliberate choices, daily actions that align with your awareness and values, decisions that honor your depth, perspective, and sensitivity. Breaking free from scripts is transformative. It moves you from passivity to agency, from autopilot to intentional living, from confusion to clarity. Every choice reinforces your identity. Every action builds your life as a reflection of who you truly are. The path is yours to create, not inherited from others. Solitude, self-awareness, and building an identity that fits you. The moment you step away from the world's script, you meet a new space. Silence, stillness, solitude. Most people run from it. You don't, because somewhere inside you, you sense that solitude isn't emptiness, it's information. It's the raw material for understanding who you are without the noise. When you spend time alone, patterns appear. You notice what drains you. You notice what inspires you. You notice what feels forced and what feels natural. This is how identity forms. Not through imitation, not through pressure, but through clarity. Real examples prove this. Creators who discovered their voice only after stepping back from the crowd. Thinkers who found their direction during long walks alone. People who rebuilt their identity after realizing they had been living someone else's expectations. Solitude teaches you to trust your inner signals. The quiet voice that always knew the truth. The instinct that felt right even when it made no sense to others. Self-awareness is built moment by moment, by observing your reactions, by questioning your habits, by listening to the discomfort instead of suppressing it. Identity becomes a deliberate construction, a set of choices aligned with your values. A lifestyle shaped by your sensitivity, perspective, and emotional depth. When you build identity from within, you no longer chase belonging. Belonging becomes a byproduct of alignment. You attract people who resonate with your clarity. You repel what isn't meant for you. This is how you become someone solid, someone rooted, someone unshakable, not because you fit in, but because you finally fit yourself. Relationships that align with your growth. As you grow into your identity, something unexpected happens. Your old relationships begin to feel different. Some become lighter. Some become heavier. Some simply no longer fit the person you're becoming. This isn't conflict, it's evolution. When you change internally, your external world rearranges. People who matched your old patterns may no longer resonate with your new clarity. This can feel painful. You might mourn friendships that once felt like home. You might feel guilty for outgrowing dynamics that used to define you. You might wonder if something is wrong with you. Nothing is wrong. This is the cost of growth. You stop tolerating what corrupts your peace. You stop performing for approval. You stop shrinking to make others comfortable. You begin to seek relationships where depth is welcomed, where honesty isn't a threat, where your intensity isn't treated like a flaw, where your vision isn't dismissed as unrealistic. Real examples show this clearly. People who left draining friendships and suddenly felt their creativity return. Those who stopped chasing shallow validation and found partners who valued them deeply. Individuals who set boundaries and discovered who actually respected them. Aligned relationships feel different. Conversations are effortless. Silence isn't awkward. You don't need to pretend. You're not afraid of being misunderstood because you are finally understood. Not by everyone, but by the right ones. Growth filters your environment. It reveals who is meant to stay, who is meant to support, and who is only meant to be a chapter. This is where connection becomes meaningful, where relationships strengthen your identity instead of diluting it, where alignment replaces attachment, where resonance replaces obligation. You no longer seek to belong everywhere. You seek to belong authentically, and that is enough. Turning the outsider advantage into purpose. Being different isn't a disadvantage. It's an angle, a position, a vantage point most people never access. When you realize you're not like most people, you stop trying to blend into places you were never meant to fit. You start noticing the gifts hidden in your difference. You start seeing how your outsider perspective gives you insight others simply don't have. Most people follow the crowd because it feels safe. Outsiders question the crowd because they see beyond the surface. This ability isn't accidental, it's evolutionary. You absorb patterns. You detect inconsistencies. You see long-term consequences. You recognize meaning where others only see noise. This becomes purpose when you decide to use it intentionally. Creators turn their unique lens into art. Entrepreneurs turn it into innovation. Thinkers turn it into clarity. Leaders turn it into transformation. Examples reveal the pattern. Someone who felt out of place in traditional work environments later builds a company that redefines an industry. Someone who was too sensitive becomes the coach who helps others understand themselves. Someone who questioned everything becomes the writer whose work unlocks thousands of minds. The outsider becomes the architect of change, not because they wanted the role, but because their view of the world required it. Purpose is not found in fitting in. Purpose is found in contribution, in using your difference to create something meaningful. Your outsider identity becomes a signal, a calling, a direction. You are meant to see what others overlook. You are meant to think differently. You are meant to build differently. Your path was never supposed to follow the default. This isn't a curse. This is your advantage. Once you embrace it, you move from isolation to influence, from confusion to purpose, from feeling out of place to realizing you were never meant to blend in. You were meant to stand out, living authentically without apology. When you finally understand your difference, your depth, your vision, something shifts. You stop negotiating with your truth. You stop watering yourself down to fit containers that were too small for you. You stop apologizing for who you are. Authenticity becomes your baseline, not a performance, not a strategy, a natural expression of knowing yourself. This kind of authenticity isn't loud. It doesn't beg for attention. It doesn't demand validation. It simply exists, grounded, clear, and aligned. You start organizing your life around what genuinely matters to you. Your routines shift. Your priorities shift. Your values harden into something unshakable. You begin to say no without guilt. You begin to say yes without hesitation. You begin to move through life with intention rather than fear. Real-world examples reveal this transformation. Someone who once lived for approval begins creating work that feels true, even if it's misunderstood. Someone who once chased belonging chooses relationships that honor their boundaries. Someone who once hid their depth now speaks openly, helping others step into their own truth. Authenticity isn't about rebellion. It's about alignment. It's about making decisions that reflect the person you've become rather than the person you once pretended to be. You walk differently when you no longer need permission. You speak differently when you trust your voice. You show up differently when your life finally matches your inner world. This is the final stage of transformation. When being different no longer feels like a burden, it becomes your foundation. When you no longer try to escape who you are, you embody it fully. When you no longer chase acceptance, you create space for people who accept the real you. Living authentically is not the end of the journey. It's the beginning of a life where your difference becomes your power, your clarity becomes your guide, and your presence becomes a catalyst for those still trying to find their way. The realization that changes everything. There comes a moment when everything you've learned, everything you've lived, everything you've questioned finally meets in one place. A quiet understanding, a grounded acceptance, a realization that was always waiting beneath the noise. You were never meant to be like most people. And that is your greatest strength. Not because you're better, not because you're special in a performative sense, but because your path, your perception, your internal world were built for a different kind of life. All the confusion begins to make sense. All the loneliness gains context. All the sensitivity becomes meaningful. All the depth becomes direction. You understand that your difference was the curriculum, teaching you awareness, teaching you resilience, teaching you discernment, teaching you to build a life rather than inherit one. You see that not fitting in pushed you inward, pushed you toward solitude, pushed you toward clarity, pushed you toward authenticity. And from that place, you've begun creating a life aligned with who you truly are. A life that feels coherent, a life that feels honest, a life that feels like it finally belongs to you. The real transformation is simple. You stop resisting your nature. You stop fighting your depth. You stop apologizing for your vision. You start living as yourself, fully. And life begins to shift around the person you've become. You attract alignment. You embody clarity. You create purpose. You move with intention. This is the moment everything changes. Not because the world suddenly understands you, but because you finally understand yourself. Once that happens, you don't need permission. You don't need validation. You don't need to fit into anyone's expectations. You simply walk your path, the one you were always meant to create. A path built from difference, shaped by depth, and strengthened by authenticity. This is where your story truly begins. The realization that changes everything. There comes a moment when everything you've learned, everything you've lived, everything you've questioned finally meets in one place. A quiet understanding, a grounded acceptance, a realization that was always waiting beneath the noise. You were never meant to be like most people. And that is your greatest strength. Not because you're better, not because you're special in a performative sense, but because your path, your perception, your internal world were built for a different kind of life. All the confusion begins to make sense. All the loneliness gains context. All the sensitivity becomes meaningful. All the depth becomes direction. You see it in real life. The friend who left a secure job to start something risky and meaningful. The artist who turned heartbreak into work that moved thousands. The thinker who questioned everything and became the voice others finally listened to. You understand that your difference was the curriculum, teaching you awareness, teaching you resilience, teaching you discernment, teaching you to build a life rather than inherit one. You see that not fitting in pushed you inward, pushed you toward solitude, pushed you toward clarity, pushed you toward authenticity. And from that place, you've begun creating a life aligned with who you truly are. A life that feels coherent, a life that feels honest, a life that feels like it finally belongs to you. The real transformation is simple. You stop resisting your nature. You stop fighting your depth. You stop apologizing for your vision. You start living as yourself, fully. And life begins to shift around the person you've become. You attract alignment. You embody clarity. You create purpose. You move with intention. This is the moment everything changes. Not because the world suddenly understands you, but because you finally understand yourself. Once that happens, you don't need permission. You don't need validation. You don't need to fit into anyone's expectations. You simply walk your path, the one you were always meant to create. A path built from difference, shaped by depth, and strengthened by authenticity. This is where your story truly begins. And it is just the beginning. Every step forward is proof that the struggle of feeling different was the foundation of your transformation. Every challenge faced, every moment of doubt, every lonely night contributed to the person you are now. Every choice aligned with your inner truth becomes a ripple that shapes the life you deserve. Your difference is no longer a source of pain. It is a source of power. Your clarity is no longer a secret. It is a compass. Your life is no longer borrowed. It is fully, unapologetically yours. Closing reflection, embrace your difference. The journey of realizing you're not like most people is not a curse. It is a roadmap, a guide, a signal pointing you toward depth, clarity, and authenticity. Your difference shapes your perspective. It shapes your choices. It shapes the life you are capable of creating. It will challenge you. It will isolate you at times. It will test your patience and courage. But it will also reward you with insight, with purpose, with freedom, with a life that finally aligns with the person you are meant to be. Embrace your uniqueness. Embrace your sensitivity. Embrace your depth. Do not shrink to fit the expectations of a world that cannot match your vision. Live deliberately. Trust your instincts. Choose alignment over approval. Seek resonance over mere belonging. Your path may be lonely, but it is yours, and it is magnificent. You are not like most people, and now you understand why that is the most powerful realization you can have. It is the key to living fully, authentically, and unapologetically. Step into it. Walk your path. Create your life. And never forget, your difference is your gift, your strength, and your freedom.